Alphabet Man, tearing down the strongholds, exposing the darkness, wrecking the enemy's plans. Endurance till the end. It's time for the Alphabet Man Live.
Hey, this isn't the Alphabet Man. You probably guessed that already. This is a man of 1,000 names. JR. Or, hey, wait a minute. You look an awful lot like BJ Edwards. Or aren't you Jim Harrison? Didn't you used to be the coach's chauffeur? What are you calling yourself today? I'll get to that in a minute. First of all, I do want to thank David for asking me to sit in for him. I'm very appreciative for the opportunity and do consider it to be an honor. Speaking of appreciation, and we all should really appreciate David. He brings something to the table that we haven't had and we've really needed. He's living proof that homosexuality, transgenderism, if you will, is a choice. He's willing to step into the lion's den, that place where he's been before, but he was the lion then, and now he's under the leadership of the lamb. And the lions are all out there scratching their heads going, what? When I first got bit by the righteous bug over 30 years ago, I couldn't imagine where my journey would have taken me and the wonderful people I'd be able to rub elbows with. I was at the trial of Kent Hovind. I never thought in a million years that I'd be at the trial. And he was even an overnight guest in my house. I was there when they locked up Kim Davis. I've stood side by side with some incredible men and women in the battle. And I consider David Arthur one of those. As his coach, who's drugged me into most of what I've gotten into so far, and looks like he's sucking you all in too. Good for him. Coach and Mark Harrington and I just formed an organization about 18 years ago called Minutemen United. And the Sultan Light Brigade is an outreach or an outgrowth of that. But today, man, to see where he is and to see the people that are out there, it's such a blessing. Man, the guy's like a coach is like a cross between John the Baptist and, man, pick anybody, pick Ronald Reagan or, wow, he's just incredible. He's incredible. Anyway, I listened to Coach's broadcast this morning. He talked about righteousness and he's talked about spirits. And when I think about when I think about spirits, I think of two different spirits: the spirit of righteousness and the spirit of unrighteousness. And I think that's where we are in the world today. Jared, did you get the links that I sent you? The Twitter? I don't know which one that is. Is that the Democrats? I don't do Twitter, so. Okay, there's two. Yeah. There's two of them. There's one clip that I want you to play, and I'm just hoping you got it. So anyway, I got bit by the righteous bug about 30 years ago, and I wasn't really a Christian at the time, so I kind of struggled around and bumped around. I had a business, and then I got the Christian righteous bug, and as a result of that, I lost my business, but I gained a lot more, an awful lot more. Right now, I'm heading up an organization called the Natural Family Foundation. And what we're trying to do is to get people to recognize the critical importance of the natural family. Let's define natural family: one man, one woman, lifelong, committed, monogamous relationship. By the way, that's one man blue and one woman pink. A lifelong, committed, monogamous relationship with their biological or adopted children. That's the core of all societies. If you take a look at Rome, you take a look at Greece, they started altering the family. Not only they altered the content, but they altered the structure. And structure is very important. And in today's America, we're seeing a lack of structure, a lot of it. Might call it anarchism. But the structure that I talk about is, from the Christian standpoint, it's God, Jesus Christ, man, woman, children. And that's a vertical relationship. In today's America, and what happened in Rome and what happened in Greece, they flipped it. They made it horizontal, where everybody is a God in their own mind. The only authority is me. you're God in your own eyes. And what we're trying to do is get people to understand, number one, what a natural family is, number two, the importance, and then getting them to act on it. And on Coach's show this morning, and Coach is just a brave warrior with regards to pro-life. And I respect the dickens out of him for that. But I got to tell you folks that if you end abortion tomorrow and we still have divorce and we still have gay marriage and we're still messing with pornography, and the government is still taking kids out of natural homes and putting them in unnatural homes, you're not going to have a nation. You're just not going to have it. It's inclusive. All those problems, most of the problems we see in America today are tied directly into the fact that we just not have paid attention to the natural family. So that's my promotion. We have a radio program on Saturday mornings. It's called Natural Family. No, it's called Last Call. LastCallRadio.live. We talk about the issues of the day. We call it Do Radio, Christian Talk Radio with a sting. What we're trying to do is to get you in the game, get you in front of abortion clinics, get you at school board meetings, get you to maybe run for office. We need more Christians. We need more Christians. I'm talking about myself, and I talked a little bit about David Arthur. I want to talk to you about a man called Donald Trump. And he seems to be an enigma to everyone, but I got to tell you, I'm really enjoying what this man is doing. Can you play that clip that I sent you, Jared? I don't think so. It's Blue Wave. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
In on him.
Breaking news, a new bombshell.
One astrologer says this means the beginning of the end for President Donald Trump.
The beginning of the end of the Trump presidency.
Trump will resign.
Trump is going to resign.
Is this the tipping point? I know we've said it over and over.
You think this is a tipping point?
And over and over.
This is a tipping point.
And over and over.
Breaking news, President Trump off the rails.
It was the beginning of the end today.
The beginning of the end.
It reminds me a lot of the last days of Nixon.
Breaking news tonight, new bombshell.
This is the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
The walls are closing in.
The wall's closing in.
The wall's closing in.
Breaking overnight bombshell.
This is a very dramatic day, and I think it might be near a tipping point. Do you think this is a tipping point?
This is unbelievable. This is remarkable. Have you ever seen anything like this?
His presidency is crippled.
December 1st, 2017, you can mark it down. This is the day that everything changed.
We begin with the bombshell.
The beginning of the end?
The beginning of the end.
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 In fact, if this were a football game, we're in the third quarter. May even be the beginning of the end.
We begin tonight with the bombshell.
Donald Trump is in a lot of trouble.
Trump is in trouble.
The president will resign.
Another hour, another bombshell.
This is a tipping point.
Trump's going down.
This president could be impeached.
I do not think the president will serve out his term.
Resignation.
Resignation. I don't think this president is going to serve out his term. Mr. Trump will not serve out his term.
He will not serve out his term.
No way, no how.
Breaking news.
Absolute bombshell. I think Donald Trump is in trouble.
Donald Trump is not. He's done. And it's over.
It's over.
The wall's closing in.
The wall's closing in.
This is going to be the Achilles heel.
Breaking news tonight. I expect Trump to depart.
This week will be the watershed week. Trump is in big trouble.
Trump's in a lot of trouble.
It's a sign of a terrified old man who feels the
Walls
closing in.
The walls
are increasingly
closing in on him.
Tonight, the walls
Are closing in.
today changed everything. This is the beginning of the end.
today the biggest.
Tipping point for the Trump administration.
What a historic day. The bombshells they fell.
It's entropy and it's crumbling internally.
He's underwater. He feels
The walls closing in.
Could his testimony be a turning point?
We may be at a tipping point.
It's the beginning of
The end.
The beginning
of the end.
Another bombshell.
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 This is a bombshell.
It is a bombshell.
I am beginning to resent the word bombshell.
Now I got to ask the question: who's the president of the United States? It's still Donald Trump, isn't it?
Boy, that's not biased news, JR.
It's look, I love what Donald Trump does. I love what he does. And on our program last Saturday, I talked about if you really want to know somebody, if you really want to know them, make them mad. Make them as mad as you can possibly make them. And look what Donald Trump is doing just to the news media. And they are our arch enemy, the news media, and how they're whining and how they're dribbling all over this and how they have to put up fake news just to go after this guy. I think Donald Trump is incredible. Now, I reluctantly voted for him. And I think some of you maybe not have voted for him, but are fans of his now. But I like what he's doing to it's entertaining to me. It is entertaining to me to see how the extent that the news media will go or politicians will go to try to defeat this man. And everything they throw at him, it's like just bouncing. He's Teflon. Nothing sticks to him. And I just love it. And my Mrs. BJ, Mrs. JR says, well, I don't like what he does on his Twitter feeds. I don't like how he says things. And he's rough and he's rude and he's crude. And I'm going, great. Because that just invigorates our side and totally drives the other side crazy. Did somebody want to come in there? I'm sorry. I guess not. Okay. Hey, listen, and by the way, I want to thank Kirk Knock, praying at the polls. Wow. I don't know how many of you guys are doing that and gals, but that is just an incredible experience for me. It's not, you're obviously not in large crowds, but it's been a great experience for me. I've met some very good people, but I'm learning something about an activity that I'll be honest with you, I'm not very good at. And I don't really understand that much. And that's prayer. Now I talk to God all the time, but I guess you consider that prayer, but to formally pray and what to expect. I mean, God's will is going to be done, as Larry would say. God's will is going to be done. But what does that look like? And what does prayer mean to us? First of all, I would pray that God doesn't give me what I deserve. And the nation either. But I would pray that he would give me what will help us. And I think that's what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen in next Tuesday. I have no idea what the results are going to be. But I know that they're going to be what's best for us. If you think about the Tea Party and you think about Barack Obama and how ugly, my opinion, how ugly that administration was and how much division they brought and how much they hurt the American people. But it also brought life into the Tea Party. It brought life into the folks that are on this call today. If it wasn't for Barack Obama, I don't think a lot of us would be doing what we're doing today. Did somebody come in? I heard a click.
Well, I was drinking my coffee, but JR, that's a really good point, right? A mountain wouldn't be so much fun if it was just flat, because then it ain't a mountain, right? Yeah. So there's the hills and the valleys, and it's that's life. That's life. Yep. So you bring up I applaud you. Thanks for bringing up the point, right? Obama was terrible, but Trump without Obama wouldn't have made as much sense.
No, absolutely. We'd never gotten Trump. We'd have never gotten Trump. So we're making lemonade out of lemons, I guess. And Ronald Reagan, and unfortunately in my life, and I think most of our lives, that we really don't start doing what we need to be doing until we feel the heat. And that's where Obama comes in. What scares me is that I see a lot of attempts being made at doing good things in America, but I still see a lot of bad things happening. I see a lot of bad things happening because we, the church, are allowing it to happen. And as long as we do that, maybe we're not going to get God's wrath, but we are going to get maybe a little more heat. I'm not making any predictions in elections. As a matter of fact, if I were to make a prediction in an election, I'd say that it's not going to be a blue wave, just based upon the whining that's going on the left and how concerned they are. But if it's not a blue wave, and it is a red wave. We have now a Democratic Congress, and we have a Republican Congress, conservative Congress, if you will. Well, maybe not. A Republican Congress, and we have a Republican president. So we have the branches of government. The judicial is a different story, but we already have that. So what happens in November if we do maintain what we have? Do you think we're going to see a better America? Look, the problem in America is a moral one. And it's nothing more and nothing less. We are an amoral society. I mean, I was looking at an article on Teen Vogue magazine, and they're promoting safe, close your ears, young kids, safe anal sex, telling them how to do it. I mean, come on. Is this America, or is this Sodom? So I'm just giving a heads up in terms of the election. And in Ohio, my goodness, I've got worse and worser in a lot of my opportunities. And it's not because I haven't tried to do something, because I have. But God does judge nations, doesn't he? And he judges groups. So with that in mind, go ahead.
Well, right, the church. This is Coach's message to the church, and the government, the church is the conscience of the nation. The church is the conscience, right? And when the government, which it does, see Trump. What is Trump doing? He's kind of respecting. He's giving a little bit of respect to the church, and he's at least bending his ear. It's the church is like doesn't know what to do because they're not very good either. But the government needs to respect the church, and the church needs to stand up and take moral responsibility for the country that it's in. I think. I don't know. What do you think?
The devil's in the detail. How do you define a church? When I look at a church, because of the Natural Family Foundation, I've started to look at the church through the family. Churches are composed of families. And if the family, I use the example of a Ohio State football coach. If you have a team that are Michigan fans, then how are you going to do on the field? You're not going to do very well because they don't believe in what the coach is saying. So if you have a pastor, and I'm not exonerating pastors. Look, when my children were growing up, they needed religion, and they needed to know how to pray. So what did I do? I sent them off to the church. And I expected the church to do my job, didn't I? It's not their job, it's my job. Now, pastors in the church can help. I mean, if I have questions about the Bible, or if I need, hey, I don't know how to get my son or my daughter to go from here to here, yes, I'm going to use that advice. But I shouldn't expect the pastor to raise my children. That's my job. And I think that's where we've really, really gotten into trouble. And it's not just the church. We expect the government to educate our children. The news media gives them information that we allow them to have. We give them vehicles, phones that they can tap into all this information. And again, I come from a natural family, from a family viewpoint, and I take a lot of responsibility for what is happening in society, because I, the male, did not take the authority in my family. I did not take the responsibility. I did not say, okay, we're going to go to church, but after we go to church, we're going to have dinner, and we're going to pray before we eat, and then we're going to study the Bible afterwards, and we're going to spend the entire Sunday going through the book and learning about Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, my children knew more about the Browns and the Bengals than they did about Jesus Christ, or Ohio State football, or you pick your sports, you pick your or soccer, whatever it is. So when we talk about the church, Jared, and I think it was a great point, we really need to define what the church is. You know, when you point one finger out, there's three coming back at you. We need to take that to heart. I think we really do. I mean, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed of how I didn't do my job. I think, do we have a pastor with us today? Yeah. Dale, what do you think about that?
Well, brother, the scripture is clear. It's the parents' duty to rear their children up in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. Children are going to make mistakes. Parents are going to do the best that they can within what they're doing, but that doesn't mean we ever stop being parents. So, JR, just even in your case, no matter how old your children are always your children. I look at that movie, I Can Only Imagine, and look how the origin of that song, and that's a true story, so never underestimate, a day or a turning point, and allowing God to intervene and still use dads. We can still be the dads, whether our children are at home or not at home. They'll always be our children.
Thanksgiving is coming up, and we're going to sit at the Thanksgiving table, and my son-in-law is going to be there, and my son and his girlfriend and the rest of the family is going to be there. But in today's America, we kind of have to watch what we say, because our children, and there are exceptions, Dale, I understand that, but for the most part, our children have taken a different father. They've let the world bring them up. And when we sat at that dining table with our family, there isn't enough respect for the parents. And in my case, I guess I can say I've earned that right, but I'm trying to reconcile that. But as parents, well, I guess the caution is, don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion at the table, right? On a national Christian holiday, Thanksgiving. I think it's really sad, the corner that we painted ourselves into. And again, from my standpoint, once we start focusing on the family, the importance of the family, and once we start demanding that the male be the leader in the family, which he's supposed to be, once that starts happening, then I think we're going to start turning things around in America. I don't see it happening without that. And the church notwithstanding, Dale, I'm not ignoring the church. It has a critical role, but of the institutions in life, business, government, education, church, family, media, entertainment, the most critical is the family. It's the foundation of all societies. And I said earlier in the program, beginning of the program, if you get rid of the family, if the family goes, if you change its form and structure, then your nation is bye-bye. And basically, America is headed to look an awful lot like Romans 2. We're just doing that. Go ahead.
JR, if you don't mind,
go ahead.
You're absolutely right. Don't get me wrong. The first duty, even as myself as a pastor, is not the ministry of the building or the people in that building, but to my family. That's the best thing I can give to the people in the church, is my role model as a father in my family. As goes the family, so goes the church, and so goes the church, so goes the nation. Right?
Yep.
And let me also say, listen, never not have those conversations at Thanksgiving, because one of the problems why people are acting the way they're acting, hear me out, is that the way we engage in social media now, we're never face to face and having conversation. And so it's important. Part of that is working through those differences, is being able to sit down. And if anybody can have a disagreement in a conversation, it's normally going to be the father with the children or moms with the children, however you want to look at that, versus having some cuckoo nut out there on the street who, has no emotional or ties to the person. So we still want to have those conversations with our children.
I agree. Go ahead.
And also to narrow the spectrum of what we're talking about too, fatherhood, respect. My interpretation, respect is a masculine thing. Men give respect to each other. Women, you love women. You love women. You don't necessarily respect them. I mean, you respect them as people, but it's about love for them. With men, it's about respecting each other. There's a book written about marriage. I forget the author, and it was called Love and Respect. And he details this. It's kind of, I think the closer to God you get, the more even it becomes, right? The more closer respect and love become, closer they get to each other. So you can do both to each other as husband and wife. But at the end of the day, respect is more important for men, Love is more important for women in a sense. And we're missing respect of the fathers. We're missing, I can tell you from my personal experience of not respecting my own father. It's bad. It's really unhealthy. It's evil. It's wrong.
Well, Jared, the scripture says this: wives, submit yourself unto the husband, for the husband is the head of the wife. And then it says, and husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Do you see exactly what you were just saying? Mm-hmm. Wives need the love and the nourishment and that nurturing, where husbands need that it's not submitting, it is a due homage of respect. And so when a husband will love his wife as Christ loved the church and lay down his life for her, a woman home is in order, and she'll submit to her husband because his best interests for her are at heart.
Am I still here, Jared? Okay, I got a notice from internet that I was disconnected. So, okay, good. I could still hear you. I didn't know whether you could hear me. I want to start the conversation about the family, and I started off describing David and my background, and in both cases, there were father issues. David's father was not there when he was born, and you're always looking. It's innate. It's innate in children, and by the way, it's a male, not a transgender, a male that a child wants to cling to, as well as a female, and they know the difference. They know the difference naturally. It's programmed into us. When you take one of those out of there and you notice, number one, in your own life, and number two, in other people's lives, that they have fathers, you start saying, well, what's wrong with me? In my case, my father was there, but I would say with regards to him, nobody's totally worthless. They can always serve as a horrible example, and that'd be my dad. So I didn't have that father in the home that I could respect and look up to. And David didn't have that. And that goes off an awful lot in society with a 50% divorce rate. And again, when I'm talking about natural fathers, with a 50% divorce rate, we're asking for trouble. We're really asking for trouble. And with aborting children, we're asking for trouble. And with gay marriage, we're asking for trouble. And with the government becoming a parent of children, we're asking for trouble. I mean, we have really, really painted ourselves into a corner with regards to the family. And when I look at it through the family's eyes, and I look at through history through the family's eyes, I'm going, man, we'd better change this, and we better change it soon. Otherwise, like I said, we're going to end up where Rome and Greece are, in the dump heap of societies. And we're doing that. And I like Donald Trump. I like what he's trying to do. But Donald Trump is on the football field, and he's the quarterback, but he needs linemen. He needs split ends. He needs people that can help him on that field. And our responsibility is to block for him, or to take the ball, or to catch the ball for him. So regardless of what happens on Tuesday, if the blue wave comes, we don't sit back in our chair and go, oh, okay, well, I'll let them take care of it. No, you don't. Well, how's that worked in the past, I guess, would be the best way to ask that question. It hasn't. But if the Reds win, then well, maybe we'll get out on the field. But that's not the way we should be. We should understand where we are as a nation, what we need right now, and we are an amoral society. I think we have to start the process through the family, but we can't do it without the institution of the church. We can't do it without the Bible. We can't do it without Jesus Christ. That's just the way it is. And I guess I want to, if any other comment, if somebody wants to comment down on that, fine, but that's really where I see we are in this nation right now and what needs to be happening. I'm noticing a problem. I'm projecting or proposing a solution to it. And I'm open to hear other solutions, but from what I've seen in my short lifespan, Chuckle, I think it's the family. I know it's the family, but there may be something else involved in that. Points, questions, counterpoints?
Well, the scripture, even in Ephesians 6:4, says, fathers, do not provoke your children unto anger. Mm-hmm. He is the father to the fatherless. Everything lays on the hinges going back to the father. And listen, it's not a shame thing. It's not a beat down thing. It's an awakening thing, and calling dads to come back. Same thing in the black community when we saw the fathers ripped out of those families back in the 60s. This is what brought down that part of the society. Fathers bring the stability. I mean, I even as a pastor, it's funny, my wife will be fussing the kids down, but the second I walk in the back door, she goes, "It's an amazing thing that transpires." Yeah, see, we all relate to this, and we need to understand. And I even told my son, he just got married, I said, "Son," I said, "you don't earn the position of being her head and the accountability to God." I said, "The day you say I do, you become this person."
Wow. Words of wisdom. Hey, as goes the family, so goes the church. As goes the church, so goes the nation. I want to thank again David for the opportunity to talk today. I thank the participants, and hey, get in the game somewhere, somehow, some way. This is BJ or Jim or JR or whatever you want to call me. Have a great day.